Welcome to another episode of the Dr. Mollie James Show. Today, I'm excited to have a very special guest, Major Mike Hall. I will abbreviate his credentials. It would take the entire show to list the things that he's done, but former Marine Special Forces, Special Operations, Texas Highway Patrol in the drug interdiction, and now a major in the U.S. Army. And you take it from there because I know I messed that up.
No, completely fine. All those credentials were bought online, so we're good. No, Texas Army National Guard now, down at the 36th Infantry Division as a Provost Marshal. And but yeah, thanks for having me this morning. I'm still drinking coffee. What is it, 9 a.m.? So I'll be drinking it all day, but this is probably my third cup.
Yeah, very good. Well, I appreciate you joining us. So many people need to hear your story and what you're up to and what you're doing. We met in North Carolina during the post-hurricane floods. So tell people a little bit about your journey starting as a young Marine and what that looked like, and kind of walk us up to now, because you have a very interesting background.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. It all started with Ramadi in 2003 and 4, where I met a Special Forces doc, and his name was Pete Chambers, as you know. You two worked together in the anti-vax and the COVID injury front, which is another God thing we'll get to in a minute. But how I got to be the vice president of the Remnant Ministry of Texas. Doc and I met in 2004. He saved our rear ends when we were over there with 3-5 on the Rapid Assault Fire Team, to say the least, that his entire group. And then we met again in Guantanamo years later in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. I was running 2 companies over there, had the cradle to grave mission for the inmates and the terrorists, which means, I was in charge of my MPs, military police, that were taking care of them inside their cells, getting them to all their appointments, all the way to the commission sites. So Doc arrives there on pre-mobilization out of Fort Bliss, and we're like, you've got to be kidding me. So we were down there. We were doing work for the general. We were training up the FBI recruits and things like that, and some counter surveillance stuff. Did a lot of cool things down there other than just run a couple of companies. And then we met again. Once again, of course, stayed in touch. Met again on the border on Operation Lone Star, which as a highway patrol in the drug interdiction, we started it in 2005 after Katrina, I believe. It was Operation Border Star. So to watch it grow to what I've seen on Operation Lone Star was just insane. But met him again. I was the Tactical River Unit commander down there. Saw him and Joe. Joe's his military working dog, and who outranks both of us, by the way. I always have to throw that in there. And then he's like, "Hey man, listen, you've got to stop following me around. Let's make this thing official. I'm starting a ministry, and it was just started out as the A team, if you remember. So he's like, you're gonna be my right hand man." And we've been into because I did counter child sex trafficking as a trooper. Did some cartel work and things like that, and some CI, and we joined forces, and that's what our primary focus is now, rescuing these kids out of these terrible and horrible situations. And it's been a blessing. And as you know, you and I've spoke about that quite a bit, and we need to do more. We want to do more, but there's only so many hours in the day, and so much funding, but that's where we're at right now. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to go back, because there's probably a lot of people who are listening that aren't familiar with a lot of the terms you just threw out there. So I want to break that.
I'm terrible at that. I'm terrible. I'm sorry.
All you military people are, because those of us who don't speak that. So let's start with, what is a RAFT, a Rapid Assault Fire Team?
Rapid Assault Fire Team. Yes, ma'am. Then what that is, it's a small team, group of 6. So in your formations, you have a platoon. Inside those platoons is a team, and then a squad. Your squad is usually made up of 8 to 10, 12 if you've got a big platoon. And then your teams are broken down by that, usually in the halved. So some special teams can be a little bit bigger, of course, and then your squads can as well. So that's what a Rapid Assault Fire Team is. You go in, you do your MOS, or your military occupation specialty. Your skill set is close quarter combat, room clearing, things like that, knowing how to get in, get out, clear your area, and then move on to the next objective. So that's what a raft is.
Yeah. So you were really in the worst of it over in the Middle East during the different.
Seems like I'm always in the worst of it, no matter where I go. So I don't know. The Lord has a good sense of humor, and He loves a good fool too. I just want to put that out there first and foremost, because I think that's why He loves us.
Yes. And then one of the myths I want to dispel right now, you're in a unique position. There's a force on the right that believes Guantanamo Bay is a place that things happen outside of normal military command. So is there an underground bunker that Tom Hanks is imprisoned at Gitmo? Can we set the record straight?
I can tell you this. When I was there, Tom Hanks and then P. Diddy and all them were not there. We were not housing them. That is a guarantee. But no, it was. There's a lot of that. In being firsthand, like I said, in the mix of everything, we were the first battalion to get stood up there at the 136th Military Battalion. So we had 4 companies underneath us. Everything from the engineering to the repairs to everything like that, we were in charge of. And I had all my military police in every single camp there. And Tom Hanks is not there. He's not there.
Okay, very good. I wanted to set the record straight on that. Yes, and then as we look at moving forward in your career, so the Texas Highway Patrol, but you were not pulling people over, writing speeding tickets. You had a different focus. So explain that a little bit, because again, for those of us who are not on the Texas border, we're further north. We may not be in an immediate threat or an immediate observation that we have. So can you explain that environment and circumstance a little bit?
Oh, yes, ma'am. And going into the Highway Patrol, we had received some outstanding training at the academy. The Texas Highway Patrol Academy is top notch. I mean, out of all the states in the nation, I think that is not even. It's just not even up for argument. But so you go in and then you kind of pick where you want to. What do you want to do? That's the freedom of the Highway Patrol. What I love. Do you want to work traffic? Do you want you want to get just do a good job out of your 8 or 10 hour day? Try to slow people down, keep from crashing and fatalities is the main thing. That was never my thing. I felt that my calling was more for the criminal. Get the criminals out of there. Do drug interdiction, do criminal interdiction. And so I fell into that very, very quickly. And then automatically volunteered for what was Operation Border Star at the time. So a handful of us drug addiction officers, troopers, went down to the border, worked the crap out of the corridors, and then that's where it all started. And there was nothing like what it has been the past few years. You had your normal, hey, listen, there's a demand over here in America. Here's what's coming up, 18-wheelers, a couple of vehicles, things like that. You did see some human movements. There's some human trafficking. But as far as a border being wide open, completely different then. To where you were seeing maybe several thousand crossings a day. And a lot of those were crossing, coming to work, going right back. Now, that was the key difference that I've noticed between Operation Border Star and Lone Star here recently under the Biden administration. Border wide open. And not just our Mexican brothers and sisters coming over, the South Americans, Chinese, Middle Eastern, people that have bad intentions coming over here, not necessarily come over here, work, try to obtain a green card or anything like that, truly bad intentions. And that border here in the last couple of years, that's what we saw. And everything from the Haitians to Chinese to Pakistan, just you name it, came across that border in the last 4 or 5 years.
So when the Biden administration stands in front of the American public and says that the border is controlled, we have operational control of it, everything's fine, are they lying?
That is a lie. That's a lie. And even, I'll tell you this, and even our more conservative right-wing news outlets, as much as they were trying, Fox, or they didn't paint the picture. They did not, and they couldn't. And in their defense, they couldn't, because there was a lot of that was confidential, that we didn't need to release, simply because we're trying to set the conditions to capture and do our thing, what we need to do with a lot of these groups coming over. But the American people in general do not understand what was going on this border here in Texas, Mexico, or Arizona and California. But I can't speak for them, because I haven't worked over there very much, but our affiliates like Mayhem Group, Solution Group, we met with them a couple of times as the ministry. Met with them, and they're having the same problem over there, of course. However, Texas has got 1,000 miles of border, so there's a lot of places to be coming over, and there's a lot of manpower that needs to be put on that border just to prevent that, at least a deterrent.
So, tell us a little bit about Remnant Ministries. Tell us how you ended up in North Carolina and about your work there.
Well, I was actually in the ministry. We do humanitarian efforts as well, humanitarian work. So we saw that the hurricane was coming over there, and so of course, because we're not quite right up here, we was like, of course, we're just going to pack up a few tents and head that way because we run toward the chaos, run toward the gunfire. That's kind of where we live, in the chaos. That's how we operate. But more so than that, for the humanitarian effort for my team, is we know, and we've been on the trail of some gang members, some gang activity out of Venezuela called the TDA, Trendiagua. So we knew that they were headed that way. We have a great intel cell, some of the best people you could ever imagine in this country in our intel cell. Knew that they were headed that way because amidst the chaos, that's when they do a lot of snatch and grabs. That's where they do a lot of their child abductions, as you can imagine, because of the chaos there. So they're pretty bold, pretty ballsy going into even CPS places, any state facilities, grabbing, because they know how to intimidate. They do what they want, and we'll get to how we can counter that. But law enforcement's just not ready for cartel gang activity as a whole. So they go in there and do it. So we were going over there to prevent that. That's what my team was going over there to do. See if we couldn't stop that, find that, locate that in the midst of all that chaos. Well, of course, this is a God thing. This is how God works. Like, we had tents, sleeping bags, 2 or 3 vehicles. And then before we get over there, we get a call from a mutual friend of ours. I'd come to find out. They said, "Hey, listen, where y'all staying at?" And I'm like, "We're sleeping on the ground." And he's like, "No, you're not." So a very beautiful woman named Miss Vicky gave us her home to stay in, which turned out to be a compound, like a perfect security compound. And we operated out of that. And then the next day, we got with Miss Savage, Inga Savage, that was actually doing a point of distribution out of her garage, out of her home. She was feeding everybody, like myself and my team that were coming over volunteering, feeding them. Just making a bunch of spaghetti and then things like that, and just keep us fed so we could go out and get some work done. And then we consolidated, because we always know where to consolidate. We just know. So we consolidated at the Avery Airfield, and then sure enough, Doc Chambers told me, he's like, "Hey, I think Dr. James is over there too. I need you to make contact with her." And then sure enough, I saw that you brought your team over there, and y'all set up that, I'm going to call it a MASH. So it was, you can't call it a hospital, I guess, in North Carolina, whatever the problem is. But y'all were doing great work. You can call it a clinic, a MASH, whatever you want to do. But y'all were taking care of us on top of the public over there, the civilians that couldn't get into a hospital because there were no hospitals. There were no ERs over there. And it was just a great collaborative effort between all of us. Don't you agree? That was a beautiful, beautiful thing to see, with no help from FEMA, if you remember. And I'm not trying to slam. Cam Hamilton is a friend of the ministry. He is the new interim, I should say, director of FEMA. Let me put this out there. An amazing individual, hard charger, knows what needs to happen and is doing it. But we didn't see any of that under Biden, right? So we just didn't. You and I both didn't see that. And then we even had Ann Vandersteel come up from Steel News Network, and then she was embedded with us for a couple of weeks as a journalist, and we got to the bottom of all that stuff. And it was people helping people, and then the volunteers like yourself just came in and then just went to work. We didn't need any permission. We didn't need an authority. We had an authority from someone else, a higher power, to come in, get busy, and then help these people out because they needed it.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you think about your career and where you're going, what's the most important? I mean, you do a lot of things. What is the most important thing that you're focused on? And how do you think, obviously we touched on politics a little bit. The Biden administration really left our country in a bad spot. How is that changing now that Trump's in? How do you see that changing? And how do you see the Remnant Ministry fitting into that?
Two things: the deportation effort, and we'll get to why. So the number one thing for us is rescuing these kids. And when I say kids, I'm talking maybe in their early 20s. We're talking from children, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old through the teens into the early 20s. Still a kid to me, or a child. We got to find them. That's been the thing. We work closely. What I call the Godfather is Basil Vaz. He is the founder of ARC, A-R-C, Association Rescue of Children. He said something very distinctive to me when I visited him last year, and it's this. It's like, we pray every day, not for the courage to go do what we need to do with these people holding these children and using these children. We need to know where they're at. We pray for God to lift the veil so we can find these kids, because there's 500,000, Molly. There's 500,000. Now, they say 250,000, 300,000, whatever, counted or unaccounted, but that they know that they can get a good number on. But I'm telling you, there's more than that. And a lot of that's stragglers, a lot of that have left home with maybe some mental problems and things like that and ended up on the street, but still, and getting moved around. But there's 500,000. So with this deportation effort that the president is now, and Tom Homan, who has been an outstanding friend of ours too, the veil's going to be lifted. We start hitting these cartel safe houses. We start hitting these places that have these underground bunkers. These places that had this veil on these children for so long. It's going to open up. It's going to open up whatever we need to do to get that done. So this administration is a complete turnaround from what was going on. The last administration, and again, this is not political, this is just the truth, was facilitating all this. This administration is giving us the authority and the tools that we need to go and get this corrected.
Yeah.
Very much so. And you and I have talked about, if you'd have told me a couple of years ago before I really started getting into this, that the United States of America was the number one consumer in the world of child pornography, it'd have been fought out. We'd had words. Those are fighting words. Not in my country, not in my state. I'm my blood. I bleed red, white, and blue. But it's the truth. Hell, that's on Google. You can Google that. Not Thailand, not anywhere else. It is America, the number one consumer of that terrible stuff.
So what's really driving the problem isn't the cartels, it's the demand in the United States for the product.
It's the demand. It's absolutely the demand.
Why do you think it's so high?
Well, a lot of it is because of the pornography industry. And that's not even up for a discussion or a debate. The pornography industry and the accessibility of that mess now. It just leads to that. Clinical studies have shown that when you habitually watch that mess, and it starts out as your regular sex practices, that it goes into a deep, dark hole, and it just keeps getting worse and getting worse because you have something in your brain you're trying to feed, and your curiosity, and you open Pandora's box, and before you know it, it's just taking over your life. And you can't even do normal things normally because you've opened that box. And the internet has allowed us to do that as a society. And, one of the things that, especially, shout out to Jamie Walden, you and I spoke about up there with Omega Dynamics up there in the Pacific Northwest. Men, we've got to start being men in the leadership. And one of the main things you can start, if that mess is in your life, get rid of it. Get rid of it. And it should be easy. It really should be easy. Just to turn the freaking computer, turn it off. Get it off whatever you're watching it on, whatever you're doing, get rid of it. And then we've got to do that first and foremost, because it starts in the home, right? You and I have talked about that. It starts in the home. If you can't take care of your own family, can you hear me okay? Sorry, it was reconnecting there, rebooting. If you can't take care of your own family, don't come to me and asking me how you can be on my team. What can you do to help? I don't need anybody like that. So it's, we talk about flying flags and you riding for the brand. What flag's outside your house? It's, I got the don't tread on me flag. Oh, well, what's that called? You can't tell me it's the Gadsden flag, and then give me the history of that. Oh, that flag was flown in the Civil War, and then I want to literally take their tracheas out of their because if I hear that one more time, so you're just flying that flag because your other friends are flying that flag. Know the history, and your family needs to know the history of that flag, right? And the other thing, like, well, I want to join, man. What can we do? I want to do stuff you do. I'm like, okay, man. Well, tell me who's your sheriff in your county. Oh, you don't know. Man, tell me who your mayor is. Oh, you don't know. Oh, okay. Well, county commissioner, tell me who you don't know that. Jesus, can you tell me who sits on your school board that makes decisions for your children? You don't know that. Okay. Surely you know your congressman, your congress people, your senator. You don't know any of that. Then how are you going to help me in what I'm doing? If you can't get a pothole fixed on your road, how are you going to help me do anything that I'm doing and me and my team? So that's where we've got to get started. And this goes back to what you're saying. You were asking simply about how do we do the demand. The leaders in that household have got to get right. They've got to get right. You have to. That's the only way this thing is going to get fixed. Because women, your woman, and when I say being a man and being a good, assertive male, doesn't mean treating your spouse or your children unkindly at all. That's not what I mean. That spouse of yours, you have to remember, men, that is a daughter of a king. You keep that in mind when you're talking to that woman. She is a sister of your Savior. That is a daughter of a king. Now, you treat her exactly in that fashion, and I promise you will see the changes in that household that need to happen. I promise you that. So everybody's got to get on the same page, but it's going to have to start because there's no better support than what a woman can do. And what I mean by that, no one prays like a woman. No one can pray like a woman that's centered in Christ or centered in her beliefs, centered in her faith. That's the best thing ever. That's the best supporting. That's the best fuel for your diesel engine, I promise.
Very good. Yes. And, again, you can go knock down doors and fight the cartel all you want, but until we fix the demand problem, there's just going to be another snake that fills those gaps, don't you think?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. They will find a way. It's like the whole gun control thing, right? If a sick person has it in their mind to do a casualty event, they're going to figure out a way to do it, right? So this goes back to that almost the exact same scenario. Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
One of the things I wanted to cover, there's a few things I want to get to, but in the child rescue challenges, we've talked. There's a challenge of what to do with them once you go in and they're safe. What are your options for care at the next level?
Well, excuse me, that's what a lot of what we're trying to fix too as well. A lot of them go back into a state program. CPS, Human Health Services or HHS, whatever your state has. That's not the right answer. And it's not their fault. It's not their fault. They just don't have the resources. They're trying to get them out of where they need to be, or when we give them to them, and just integrated and back into a family. But oftentimes it's the same family or place they come from that all this originated from, the abuse or whatever. Even if it was just a weak household, they go right back into where they came from. And I'm talking 80, 90% of the time. You just can't put them in that system because especially our younger ones who will never be okay. They'll never be complete. They'll never, ever be healed, right? They just won't. So to get them where they can even function in society and function within themselves, this going to take years. So our model is we call them compounds, right? To where we can have these children, and some segregation too, right? With your teens versus your younger ones, and then maybe some of your adults. Of course, separate them out. Okay, get them fed, get them the medical care they need, beyond, because, the reality of all this is there's 6, 7, 8, 10-year-olds that are going to have STDs. There's these babies that are going to have surgery and on the constant. These are people that are going to have constant counseling They have to be, you have to replant these kids and then water them to grow. You just can't put them back into, quote unquote, a family or a place or an orphanage. These kids have a completely different need than anyone else. That's your normal orphanage homes or houses. So they need to have a completely different. So you give them a sense of purpose. So you get them on these compounds or these ranches, get them some equine therapy. You get them some shelters where they can have or a little bit of a farm where they can grow their own vegetables, grow their own food. They have chow halls, have of course barracks and things like that to where they can stay, sleep, be provided for, and then work. Take care of the compounds, and then get an education. If a lot of these children don't go back to the countries they came from, if they deem that, let's educate them. Let's educate them here on that compound better than any of our public school systems. Let's get them indoctrinated in American history. Let's get them to be patriotic. Let's get them to know, have a good religious foundation, because that you've got to have a higher power when something like that happens, because you'll just keep going in the same direction. You've got to have something bigger than yourself and understand that. So that is a huge part of it. So in these compounds, we want to have stables. We want to have tack houses. We want to have medical clinics. We want to have schoolhouses. We want, of course, chow halls and things like that. And there are places out there like that. It just takes funding. It just takes funding. And we can talk about how you rescue children, especially overseas, how much money that costs. Because, and it's not for the people that go rescue. That is a promise. That is a promise. People that are rescuing these children don't want a dime. We need expenses paid for. The money, especially overseas or across the border there, is for the payoffs. Is the payoffs to get these kids out of there. Everybody's got to turn the blind eye, well, on these other countries. So that's a huge portion of it. But that, to answer your question, yeah, we can't put them back in the system. We need a place for these kids to go to for years. And if they don't want to leave, they don't have to leave. They can become the teachers out there. They can become the doctors out there. They can become whatever they want to out there and stay there and help others out. Just keep them all.
Keep them secure. Yeah, that's fascinating. I can't even imagine putting my life on the line to rescue children that have been so severely victimized, to turn around and see them get recycled back into the system again.
It is. It's heartbreaking. And you don't pat yourself on the back long. You do a rescue. It's kind of like we were doing drug interdiction, right? And you get a really nice load of dope. You're sitting there taking your trophy shots, and you're like, look at me. I can't wait to put this on my wall. And then how much is going by you? How much is going? There's 100 times more going right by you. And you're sitting there with your trophy shot. And once you realize that, Jesus, okay. And the same way with kids, like, yeah, okay, I got a couple. How many hundreds of thousands do you need to go after now? You don't pat yourself on the back, and then your heart just breaks, right? And then you've got to disconnect from that, get them to where they need to go, that next level of care, and then you've got to just Charlie Mike and move on.
Yeah. So as you're talking, I have two thoughts about, from the doctor perspective, the medical needs of the children being rescued, because I doubt the cartels have dietitians on staff and are providing nice cafeteria food for who's ever in their custody. And then the team, because not only are you staying up long hours, adrenal fatigue, the stress of that, the physical conditioning that you need. So can you speak to one or both of those?
Well, for certain. It's going to take someone, and like yourself. And the reason I say like yourself, because you're already proven within our community, because you were the first clinic out there in North Carolina when we all met, if you remember. So it was refreshing, because after several years of being on the border operations, doing some quote unquote undercover stuff with the ministry, it was refreshing to see that. It's like, oh wait, there's other people out here like us. You got to be kidding me. You did the exact same thing we did, just in a little bit different capacity. You loaded up your vehicles, you grabbed some of your team, you came out here with supplies, and you set up shop, and you went to work. Now, how cool is that? What we need now is that same spirit, that same mentality that you and your team have, you and your clinic have, your clinic, put that in these compounds. And then as we're getting inundated, hopefully, pray God that we just keep that door open for these kids coming in. You take care of them short-term and long-term, get them, even if it's the dietitian part of it. Hey, listen, let's do this and this and get these children taken care of and start on the healing process. That's where it's so important. That's where the clinic, and you just nailed it too. As much as you were doing for the public out there or the residents out there, you did just as much for us. You did. I mean, keeping us hydrated alone, keeping us with those good vitamins in there, those IV infusions and things like that. Because as you remember, you were doing even some of the special forces, the cats out of a brag that came up to help. So everybody that was out there working a couple of days without sleep, and you know that, you were taking care of us. And that's what has to happen. You're taking care of each other. We have to take care of each other in this community. We have to, in order to get the common good done, get the goal met, get the mission complete. So that's where all that falls in. That's where places like you and your clinic are going to be so important, because it's on two prongs, right? It's two-pronged benefit. One, to those who are going after these things, taking the Special Operations Command, I should say, and then the actual children or victims themselves, because there's going to be some adult ones in there too, of course.
So if you're the average person listening right now and you're like, I know this is a problem. I know trafficking is a problem. I'd like to do something to help, but like, what can I do? I'm just one person. How would you instruct them if they genuinely care and genuinely want to help, other than taking care of their own house? How would you suggest they get involved? Do they need training? Do they need to start a community outreach? Like, where did they go? Did they go look at the mall and, look for people who are being trafficked? Like, what's the actual step?
Sure.
If you're not in this world.
You get this question all the time. And, being vigilant, number one, of course. And if you see something, say something. But where we're lacking at is, and Ted Nugent nailed it a year ago or so when we were talking. You see something, you say something. We're really bad about doing something, really bad about it. So if you see something, say something. Of course, that just use that as your base model. But to be honest, vote. I'm going to say correctly, and vote your conscience. But I'm just saying, vote well. If you are very passionate about this, or if you even are remotely passionate about child rescue, vote correctly. And I'm not talking about at that presidential level. That's great. Yes. Locally. Well, who is going to clean up my community? Okay. How can I empower them? Number one, by voting. How can I help them? Well, by staying vigilant, reporting what you see. And then maybe the last, take care of those that are doing this work in your state. So take care of those people. And that's where the ministry we've been blessed with donors that have said, hey, listen, I know you're headed up to North Carolina and all that good stuff. Here, they donate. I can't do it. They say, listen, we can't do what you do. Got it. But you are going to be a representation of this community. And our communities puts in funds together down there in Central Texas. And by the time we get back from mission, that mission's paid for. And then we've got money to help out. You remember that we did that Christmas party over there in, was it Bonnersville? Is that what it was? Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes.
How cool was that? Just the donations that would come in, and remember Sarah Nicholson and her bunch with I think it's called YAPAC, right? How cool is that? Just people donating
Truckloads.
Money, time, supplies. I mean, we enjoy just being fed every now and then. The thing that separates us about a lot of, and we're not an NGO yet, we're not a non-governmental organization yet. We'd love to be, because we are going to know how to spend that money, and I'll explain that in a minute. But we live in campers. We live like gypsies. We don't want anything, man. We want the lights to stay on. Everything else goes towards the rescue. To be honest with you, everything else goes toward the humanitarian effort. Anything. So we had a donor a couple months ago, and out of Florida. She was like, "Hey, listen, I want to come see you. I want to come see y'all because we've given money in the past, and it just goes into these people's, mansions or big houses, and they buy new toys with it." I'm like, "Yeah, you come check it out. Come check it out." So you'll see that we all just live in our little campers here, and then because what good is it, number one, to have a big old nice home when you're never there, and we don't want to be there. We've got work to do. We live in what we call the dirt. We live in the dirt. We live in the field. That's what God told us to do. So every single dime that comes into us goes into fuel, goes into the equipment that we need to go after these. It goes into some room and board, and some other things for the intel side of the house. That's where that goes to. So that's what people can do out there. They can get smart on who they're electing, who's going to help them with this in their community from the sheriff's office level. I'm telling you right now, the sheriff has a lot of power in the state of Texas, and in most states, a lot of power. He or she can do a lot of good. Elect the right person who has your interests in his or her minds and will execute that. And then start out, of course, with your mayors and then things like that. And then formulate, like you said, a community party. Just something, hey, listen, even if it's in a suburb or something, the suburb, hey, listen, here, this is who we're going to call. Who's got this? Okay. If things go south, who's got this weapon system? Well, who's the medic around here? Who's the paramedic? Who's a doctor? Who's got food? Who's got MREs? Or put a little community together to pull your money in. Like, okay, well, let's buy 100 cases of MREs. How much does that cost? And then get that done collectively. Distribute it evenly, or have a single point of contact for that. It doesn't matter. Just get organized and help each other out, and then be on the lookout. It's everywhere. We just don't see it because we don't have the eyes to see it. If you get a chance, if you're out there listening and can afford to, I tell you what, Basil Boz and Tina, his wife Tina, they put on some outstanding training through ARC, Association of Rescue of Children. And Mollie, if you wouldn't mind maybe putting up that website here or there, something like that, it is wonderful. It'll give you the deep down and dirty. And Mollie, I think you're going out there to get that training, receive that training here in a few months, right?
Yes, coming up. So we'll put the website in the show notes so that people can reference that. And that's a week-long course where you understand what you're looking for, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
ma'am. And they're the best at it. Oh my God, they're such good instructors, and they'll get down and they'll tell you, they'll be straightforward with it. There's no sugarcoating it with them, which is what everybody needs. Just straightforward.
Yeah. To your point, a lot of local law enforcement may care about this issue, but they're not equipped to deal with it. If somebody in that position is listening, do you offer any kind of training or partnership with those local entities where they can really go in? They know there's a problem. They don't know how to deal with it. Can you help with that? And can Remnant help with that?
Oh, you bet. And we're positioning to help more with that. We're hoping that, and I tell you who's really good at that in your state is asymmetrical solutions. People need to look at that as far as if you're out there in your law enforcement or even a federal agency, a federal entity, take a look at places like asymmetrical solutions. And then we're going to offer that soon. And I am the owner of Cross Rifle Safety and Security Solutions. And that is going to be one of the things that we offer as well coming up this year. Because we see a huge demand for it. And of course, my Rolodex is a lot different than other people's Rolodexes because you're going to get the best of the best. But training you. A lot of it is the mental faculties of being ready to deal with this kind of stuff. A lot of it is true. And then you have to tactically know how to handle a cartel, a trained soldier in that army of the cartel or whoever you're dealing with. You've got to know how to handle that. You've got to know what to look for. They're getting into the IEDs more now. They're getting into the homemade, the HMEs for those of you in the military out there, the homemade bomb-making explosives, things like that. They're getting into that. And so you've got to know what you're looking for, number one. And then number two, if not number one, you've got to be in an area that is got a aggressive prosecutor, your DA. You cannot have a weak DA. And if you've got one in your county that is just liberal on the criminals, get rid of them. You've got to get rid of them. You have got to get rid of them. They're doing no one any good. No one. And that includes your criminals. You're not doing them any good as well. If they know that what they do, they can continue to do and get a slap on the wrist, especially with some of these things I've been hearing and reading about over the past several years. You've got to be kidding me. You cannot be just releasing these people on probation for some of the things that they're doing. Anyway, yes, back to what I was saying. Yeah, get your training, because it is a different type of training. It is a different type of training, and generally, in your law, and I've been in law enforcement, still in law enforcement, so I know this. Most are not equipped to handle this. Most don't even know how to handle it because they're not trained to handle it. And let me tell you, then there's certain aspects of it that most are not going to be fit to handle it. And I don't mean physically fit. It takes a different person to deal with this on that side of the house.
Yeah.
But as far as just the straight law enforcement, the deterrent and everything, it doesn't necessarily take that other person. So that's what we're training everybody up, or wanting to train everybody up on. So yeah, get your tactical stuff knocked out, know what to look for, but then you've got to get right up here. You've got to get right up here knowing what you're going against. And then you've got to be very concrete in what you're doing. Be very, very sturdy, very, very concrete. Have that conviction. And then that is the only way you're going to eradicate this evil out of our country.
Yeah. And you touched on physically fit. You can't do the job you're doing if you're packing an extra 100 pounds. So if there's somebody out there who's like, where do I start? Getting right mentally, getting right spiritually, but getting right physically too, take care of your own self, seems to be something that we need to cover.
It's been a problem in law enforcement and in the military a long time. You've got to quit being lazy. It's laziness. It's laziness. I tell you, if you'll go back and look at some of the old Arnold Schwarzenegger, who is the godfather of bodybuilding for that era, he's really got some really good interviews out there. Like, when someone tells him he doesn't have enough time in the day, or they don't have enough time in the day to work out or get a workout in, he's like, well, sleep faster. Just sleep faster. So I love that. I love that quote. So if you're serious about it, then you will find that time to make a quick decision. Instead of going to a fast food restaurant or whatever, go through drive-through, go in the convenience store and grab you a protein bar or a protein shake, and you'll get full. You'll get full. Okay, drop that weight you need, and then get fit. Because these people out here are training every day to kill you. I hope people know. I hope our law enforcement knows that out there. There are people every day that are training to win when it comes between you and them, and they're training harder, and they're harder than you are. They just are. They come from places where there is no running water. We are so spoilt rotten in this country, and it has made a very weak individual. Our citizens are weak. We're just weak compared to other places, because hard times make hard men. So nothing will make criminal harder than poverty. Nothing will. Poverty and abuse and oppression. And let me tell you, that's what you're dealing with out there. I mean, right now, they have no problem, especially some of these places they're coming from, no problem dropping you. No problem. Okay, fist fight. I know you've got your pepper spray and you've got your ass baton and everything like that. They're going to win. Most likely they're going to win because they've been fighting every day of their life, even as adults. That's just the way that world works, and you should know that. So if you're out there, you're not in shape, and you're wearing that uniform, remember the very first thing to get everybody's attention, to get people to act right, is your command presence. That command presence is number one. Look good in your uniform. You don't have to be a bodybuilder at all. Just be fit, look good in that uniform. Make sure it's starched. Make sure it's nice and tight. Show some respect to that department you're working, and have a little self-respect, because you're working for the citizens. You're working for the people out there. It's a civic duty. So look the part. Don't look sloppy. Number one, first and foremost, that drives me crazy. And whenever I get somebody, and I love training. I love training officers and military. I still do it. You can ask everyone on my team. I murder them. When it comes to PT, physical training. But they don't do one thing that I don't do. And I'm an old man. They don't do one thing that I don't do. So I'd leave the entire session, and I'm like, and these new cats coming out of basic training, they're not getting turned into the soldiers and Marines and everything we need right now. Marine Corps is really good about it, but especially in the Army side of the house, we're having a raise. Boot camps are not turning, and their hands have been tied. Let me get that out. Our NCOs, non-commissioned officers, and our drill instructors, hands are tied. They can't do what they need to do to get you out of civilian to what you need to be. So we're having to raise all these people in our platoons and our formations when we get them. Shouldn't be the case. It shouldn't be the case. In the same way, out of your police instructor academy, everybody should be coming out fit, able to pass a PT test, whatever the requirement is. And we're not getting that now. So just a little self-respect, start with command presence. And if you're going to be in law enforcement, you better know how to fight without any weapons. You've got to know how to fight. If you've never been in a fight before, you better figure it out real quick. So you need to go get in a boxing gym, something like that, do a few rounds and get your ass kicked a few times, because that is what you need. One of the great things about the Highway Patrol Academy down here in Texas, they had no problem during, we were fighting constantly. It wakes up 2 a.m., get down on the mat. We'd put the headset on maybe sometimes, and then we'd get after it. And if, by God, if you were taking care of a few people, they'd just put more in there until you got your ass kicked. And you needed that because you need to know what it feels like so it'll never happen. And they did that at 1 and 2 a.m. in the morning, because when you get called out to go handle something, you end up in a bar ditch rolling around. You take care of yourself. You know you can go the distance. So it's very important for our law enforcement brothers and sisters out there to just, you've got to stay fit. You've got to stay a little bit mean. There's a balance there. You've got to stay I was always overly courteous every traffic stop, every time I interacted, until they gave me a reason not to. So you got to have that switch. Work on that switch. Like I say, overly courteous. Yes, ma'am. You use your manners. Hey, listen, okay, I got it, man. And be as courteous as they will allow you to be. But at the same time, when it's time to do business, you better flip a switch. Are you going home or are you not going home that day or that shift? So get it figured out, make that decision, and then you shouldn't need anybody telling you this. You shouldn't need anybody telling you. You chose to do this profession, do your profession. Your profession of arms or professional law enforcement, whatever it is, do your profession and do it well.
Very good. So people who are moved by your story and what you do, I'd really love to expose more of who you're helping, because I think people would open their pocketbooks and support you easily if they just had more insight to that. But where can they go to learn more about the Remnant Ministry and what you're doing and your work? Because it's really a three-pronged: the border, the human trafficking, and the humanitarian effort. You're doing all three. So what's your website?
Our website is if I remember correctly, I got to look in my card here because we just changed it up a little bit. So it is the Remnant Ministry TX.org. The Remnant Ministry TX.org. I'd love for everybody to come check it out. It's .org. We're revamping it a little bit. We're doing some really cool stuff on there. Doc Pete Chambers, our founder, is starting to do what we call pin churches. Since we're all over the place all the time, every Sunday, no matter where we're at, we're going to stop. We're going to put it out, I believe, on I don't have any social media, so some type of social media, and say, hey, listen, here's where we're going to be. We're going to hold church, man. We're going to hold some church, and we're going to let everybody know what's going on. A little bit of a revival. Come see us. If not, it's going to be on the podcast. So I think we're going to do the YouTube podcast, or it's all on the site though now. So that's the Remnant Ministry TX.org. Check us out. If you want to donate, if we can do something in your behalf, please. We'll take $5 for a meal, whatever you want to donate. If you need something, and it's all tax deductible, by the way, you get the form emailed right to you. So if you need a good tax write-off for the year, we'll get you taken care of on that. We're really good about getting those out there. And if you need something, visit us and leave a message. We'll get you taken care of as quick as we can. We have a lot of that. We'd love to do that. We'd love to help you in some way. We'd love to come teach you or train you in some way. So that's the Remnant. And I know it's kind of a hard, sometimes I had to Google that word too. I think I've been an infantry guy. So the Remnant Ministry TX.org. And then you'll also see our Friends of Our page where we have, Craig Sawyer's a veteran for child rescue. Of course, Basil Baz, we spoke about. Omega Dynamics with Jamie and them. A lot of good people on there, including yourself, Doc. Doc Mollie's place will be on there as well. So these are people in our community that could really use your help. Or if you need us, just let us know. Just let us know, because we love that. We that feeling, that purpose gives us purpose, and it gives us that sense of duty that we just have that ingrained in our brain.
Very good. There's a lot more to your story, and I'll definitely have you back to keep us updated. You did allude to one thing I want to cover, and then we'll get to final thoughts. Overseas missions. How much does it cost to do a mission? Give us a range.
I'll give you a range. For one child, the last one that semi part of in Colombia, $60,000.
For one
There's
child.
a mission. Well, let me. For instance, another one right now that we're working on is at least $250,000. But that is one of the biggest extractions that trying to make sure I don't get too much OPSEC here, Operation Security, that you'd ever seen. That's helping hundreds of children, hundreds of people, not just children, get rescued from a very, very, very troubled place. So stateside, you stateside, not so much. It's just, like I say, you can get it done for $10,000 stateside for a team, for the intel, for the surveillance, for the mission prep, everything like that. $10,000 will get some pretty good extractions.
And
really
so referencing now real quickly, J.J. Carroll's movie, he talks about the NGO funding and how organizations like Catholic Charities, and there's a Jewish organization, these religious NGOs were coming in and getting hundreds of millions of dollars to bring these illegal people to our country. They were getting paid. The money's out there. We just need to get it into the hands of people who are helping instead of who are hurting.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And then we do have the ears of the right people on that for us, because like I say, and when we build the business model with the Remnant for being an NGO, all we're asking for is half of what most NGOs are offering, and we can extend that out for years, no matter who's in the White House. And for instance, just a little bit of the business model here. We're going to need pilots. And our pilot friends are like, yeah, I'm going to come do that. As soon as you get the NGO up and running, and then, hey, I won't even, I'm going to leave American Airlines or whatever I know I make $300,000 there. I know y'all can match. And I'm like, no, you're going to come do this for $100,000, $150,000 a year, half of your salary. But listen to me. We're going to extend this money out. We're going to pocket all this money. So no matter, say our NGO doesn't get funded, the next administration, we're still going. We're still rocking and rolling. Do you want to make $300,000 a year for 4 years? Or do you want to make $150,000 a year for 20 years? Uh-huh. And if you can't live off $150,000 or $200,000 a year, then I can't help you. I don't need you necessarily. I appreciate your time. If you want to come volunteer, I'll pay you for your time. But you've got to be on the mindset of you're doing God's work, and this is next. It's got nothing to do with you. Zero. Leave your ego. Leave all that bullshit at the door. All of it. Even our operators will tell you that. Leave it there. It has nothing to do with you. This is something so much greater than you are. We don't care about all your credentials. We don't care about what's on your chest, what's in that heart, how you're going to use your skill set. Leave everything else out the door. So if you get $5 out of the helping us out, you break even, good on you. And we're going to take care of everybody. We all know we have bills. We need to keep the lights on, keep food on the table, tracking all that. You're going to get taken care of. But as far as this NGO money that's been going on for a long time, especially under Biden, it's not having it. Not having it. Can't do it. Just think of the longevity of it. So that NGO funding, like for what we're doing, will get cut if there's a Democratic president in the White House after the next 4 years. It'll get cut. So why not keep going? Why not just spread that money out that we get, and we're rocking and rolling? We're helping these kids out for a decade instead of 4 years. So that's cowboy thinking. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on that. I'm just no cowboy from East Texas.
Very good. Well, I will drop their website, and I believe you do have some new social media. I don't know if it's going yet, but I'll drop those links down here below as well so people can follow you, follow what you're doing. see where you're going with your pin churches on Sundays. So we have just a couple minutes left. Final thoughts to people who their heads are spinning after listening to what you do and the problems that we're facing as a society. Last from Major Mike.
Oh my God, it's been an hour already. That flew by. Listen, we've got to get things back on track. Things are not good. Things are not good in this country. Everything from the price of everything, but we are eating ourselves alive from the inside out. And our adversaries and our enemies are loving it. And they've been waiting on this. Keep in mind that we're a brand new nation. We are a brand new nation, really. We really are. So we have other nations and countries that have been doing this for a minute. They've seen us before. And they're they're millenniums that they've been around, centuries at the very least. They've seen this before. Let's not let it happen. We have got to get things right from the inside. Get inside out, because if not, we're going to collapse. We're on a track to collapse. So everybody needs to get a little bit toughened up, so get some thick skin. I think we're on the right track. I feel like we're on the right track now. But just because we've got the person that we elected in the White House, do not kick back. Do not pat yourself on the back. Don't get in your recliner and say, Trump's got it. President Trump, as much as I respect that man and like that man, and I've met that man, I've conversed with him several times, he'll say, he's not our savior. He is not what's going to get everything right here. He is going to be a tool and an asset for us, but it's going to take us getting things right. No one else.
Major Mike Hall, thank you for being here with us today. He does not have social media, but if you want to drop any comments or DM me, I probably can get them to him. So
yeah, I'm quite a Neanderthal in that aspect. No social media. But the website.org will be fine. Doc can get it.
Perfect. Very good. We'll definitely have him back to keep us updated what he's doing. Till then, we'll see you next time on the Dr. Mollie James Show.